An inspection is just an opportunity to know the house really well. And that's actually kind of a demoralizing moment for a lot of people because you've fallen in love with this house. You've offered like more money than you ever imagined you could possibly spend on something. And then you hire someone to come in and tell you everything that's wrong with it. Like this guy is not going to come in and say, oh my gosh, the light's fantastic.
One of their circuits is off.
The data you're getting can fall into one of three buckets. The most benign bucket is maintenance. How to maintain this house you're going to buy, and that's really important. The sort of middle bucket has to do with repairs. What's broken but isn't really mission critical. So this would be the kind of thing like a door doesn't close quite tightly. The third bucket is what's a serious defect. So we're talking structural or mechanical defect. Property doesn't have heat. The roof is leaking. The foundation is bowing to such an extent that it needs to be remedied. Those things are important. That's really why you're having the inspection, is to figure out, are there any of those things? And frankly, if you discover any of those things during an inspection, typically the seller won't have known about them either. Even in this market where it's so competitive, you've probably beaten 6 other people to get your offer accepted. You go in for your inspection. Some people are under the impression that, you have an inspection but you can't possibly negotiate because this market is so ferocious. If there's a serious defect, you might not want to live with it without a negotiation. Let's say you've offered $1 million for a property and suddenly you find out that there is a roof issue that's going to cost $12,000 to fix. You might have spent all your free cash and you actually need to negotiate that $12,000. That's fine, because the risk of negotiating is the seller says no. Well, since you couldn't purchase it anyway without the negotiation, then it's important to try. You've made a calculated risk. Most of the time the seller will not have known. That means that the seller will have to disclose it to the next party in line. If I'm working with any kind of first-time buyer, naive buyer, it's not something you should waive. It's too important. You got to get to know the house. You have to know any potential issues. One strategy I've had a lot of luck with in these multiple offer situations is having my client do an inspection prior to making an offer. So what that does is it significantly reduces the risk for the seller. If the seller can look at an offer that does not have an inspection contingency, they don't have to worry about this 10-day due diligence period. They know the buyer is pretty much good to go. The risk of doing an inspection prior to making an offer is that it's a sunk cost. To me, many times it's worth the investment. Even if you were to do 3 inspections on 3 different properties, not get 2 of them, get the 3rd one, you've put $1,500 in. And the return, actually getting a property in this market, outweighs that for many people. I've discussed the strategy with a lot of buyers. Some of them opt not to do that. I understand that too. But in the aftermath, we find out that the seller accepted an offer that was clean, had no inspection contingency, and they regretted not having done it.